Good morning, everyone. Today we're going to have a Microsoft Dynamics CRM basic training. The idea is that I'm going to be explaining you some basic elements related to the CRM, not just the platform, not just the Microsoft Dynamics CRM, just the CRM in general. And after that, we could go a little bit more in deep in the CRM Dynamics specifically. As Macaron mentioned, the explanation is going to be some out-of-the-box functionalities. My name is Jorge Castro, and I'm the regional CRM practice lead in Optimus. The agenda for today basically covers these topics. At the beginning, we are going to be talking about what is a CRM, because probably most of you listened to that term before, but probably something that I want to clarify or that I want to mention in detail. We are going to be reviewing the navigation in CRM. It's going to be in CRM Dynamics. And after that, I'm going to be explaining just some basic concepts that is important to understand and to know before using Microsoft Dynamics, because there are some systems that has a specific terms, and Microsoft Dynamics is not that exception. So probably there are some context that I want to explain you, and that we need to understand. And after that, I'm going to be explaining you or showing you the standard flows, basically the sales process flow and the customer service process flow, the standard ones, and I will mention some modification or customization that we usually do in those processes. And after that, we could go there directly in the CRM and see the platform. Okay, so what's a CRM? Basically, as probably most of you know, it's customer relationship management, but it's not just a platform. And that's why I want to include this slide here, is because most of the time when we talk about CRM, always we talk about a system, always we talk about the platform, but it's more than that. CRM is all a culture. That the idea is that define how my company is going to be interacting with the people, is going to be interacting with the customer. It's not just the system, it's the whole structure that we define to interact with our customer. Instead, it means could be in the system, could be by the phone, could be by email, could be by whatever. I mean, all the culture that we define in our company to interact with the customer is going to be our CRM, is going to be the way that we relate with the customer. So that's why it's important to understand that the CRM is not just a system. Usually, of course, we relate the term with the system, but in the general way, it's more than that. It's a culture that we could support with a system, but ideally in our company, we must define the way that we want to interact with the customer. Okay, so that's why the CRM term is important, and just to clarify that it's not just a system. In terms of the navigation in Microsoft Dynamics CRM, basically we have like probably 5 sections. The first one is going to be the left side. That is going to be the principal menu. That is the menu, that the general menu that we have to interact with the system is going to be permanently there. We could collapse the menu if we click in these lines, but by default, the principal menu is going to be in the left side. In the top side, we are going to have the header that basically define the color of the instance, but that in this case is going to be blue. Is going to define the application that I'm going to be explaining you later, that in this case is going to be Optimus. It's going to say sandbox is like, for example, development instance or QA instance. The production one is not going to have this letter, but and there are some other icons that we could have it there, and that I'm going to be explaining you later too. Additionally, we could have a secondary menu. That is a menu that is going to change depends on the option that we have. If, for example, I enter to contacts, or if I enter to account, or if I enter to opportunities, the options that I'm going to see here probably are going to change, because depends on the option that I see. Okay, let me see, because we have a question here. So I'm going to try to be just answering the question, just to be opportune in the answer. Someone asked, do you provide training for Dynamics functional area for functional financial operations? But not basically this training is like the general one, the general platform training. Probably we could have another session with this specific one, but for the moment I'm going to be explaining you like the general functionality of Dynamics, including the platform. I'm going to be entering that. Okay, sorry. The third section is going to be the work area. That is the section that we could see in the middle, and that is going to be presenting all the information that according to the option that we define. And the last one is going to be the model menu. That is this one, and in the top, in the bottom left side, sorry, that is going to allow you to change in the menu. In this moment, I'm the sales menu, but I could change in some other menus that you could customize. I mean, we could customize in the implementation. Okay. Some general terms that you should know before I start using CRM Dynamics. Of course, we're going to be talking about model, entity, record, view, forms, and search. The model is a term in CRM. The functionalities that are grouped in a business area are called a model. For example, if we talk about sales, it's going to be a model, the customer service, the marketing. But additionally, as I will show you later, we could customize specific models. I mean, I could define a model that is going to be the settings model, or I could customize a model that could be the project model. I mean, by default, the CRM includes the sales model, the customer service model, and the marketing model, but you could define your own models. But basically, it's a group of functionalities. The entity term is the representation of a concept of the real world in the digital world. What it means, for example, an account, accountant, a contact, an opportunity. I mean, like in other systems, we know as a table, in CRM is an entity. So it's a term that we usually use. Microsoft is changing that term now, and probably is going to be changing to table again. But for the moment, most of the consultants know that like entity. After that, we have a record that is going to be on a specific register in a specific entity. For example, if I create a contact and the contact is Jorge Castro, that contact is going to be a record that is going to be in the contact entity, but it's known as a record. And after that, we have some views that are predefined filters that we could identify in specific entities. I'm going really quickly with those terms because I want to go directly to the CRM and try to show you the platform. But there are some elements that I want to mention. The form is distribution of the fields on section and tabs in a screen. And the search is all the alternatives available in the system to identify the records based on some specific filters. Basically, those are the 6 concepts that you should know before I start using CRM, at least the Microsoft Dynamics CRM. And I will be showing you that in the platform coming soon. Okay, this is the standard sales process flow. By default, the CRM includes leads, contacts, opportunities, quotes, and orders. Basically, this is the standard sales flow. Of course, you could include additional elements here, but by default, this is the sales process that the CRM include. And I just put activities below because it's something that is transversal. Is that something that you could use in any part of the system? For example, if you are in the leads and you want to create a task, or you want to create a phone call or an email, you could do it. But in the same way, you could do it in all of these other parts. I mean, it's something that is going to be supporting the operation. And basically, if you are passing from a lead and you are qualifying the lead, and you could pass the contact and you could pass the opportunity, you could create activities in each of these parts. This is the sales process by default. That, of course, there are some companies that customize that process. There are some companies that decide don't use, don't use opportunities, or try to use another entity here. But by default, this is the standard process. The standard customer service process is quite simpler. is contact, and basically probably you could have entitlement, that are the agreements that you have with a company to provide some support. And after that, you could have cases. This is the simple one, and you could customize as well. Actually, for example, in Optimus, in our implementation, after cases, we have some other entities here like typification, like auto definition or auto assignment cases. There are some other entities that we could use here to support operation. And in the same way, you could have the activities and you could operate with these elements and with all the other activities that you have here. Okay, now let's pass to the practical one. Let me show you the CRM, at least the instance that I have here. This is the demonstration instance. By default, I want to just show you some elements here. By default, if you enter to the CRM, you're going to arrive directly to the dashboard. The dashboard section is something like that. You could configure a dashboard as you need, with charts, with tables, with some other elements, actually with web resources or some other elements if you need. And after that, I mean, by default, you could have all of these dashboards because the CRM by default has a lot of dashboards. And additionally, you could customize some other if you need. You could change your dashboard just clicking here. And if you want to start with a different dashboard, you just need to set as default, and it's going to be that. Okay. Let me. Okay. Sorry about that. So let me just click on dashboard again. And additionally, I mean, this is the dashboard section. You could create a new dashboard if you want. You could include a Power BI dashboard if you want. And additionally, you could have the report section that the CRM by default has 26 reports, but you could customize additional ones if you need. But there are some of the reports that you will see here that probably are going to accomplish most of the functionalities that you're going to require. But by default, create a report is fairly simple. Additionally, you're going to have the activities. I'm going to be showing you the activities as soon as I show you these functionalities, because if not, it's going to be not quite in the order. By default, at least in the sales model, the idea is that you start with a lead. A lead is could be a company, could be a person that could be your client, but at the moment you don't know what is the product that is the product service that it's interested in. I mean, a lead is someone or a company that could be your customer, but you don't know what product could be interested in. At the moment that you identify what's the product that the lead is going to be interested in, probably, I mean, it's the moment to qualify a lead. Why? Because at the moment that you, I mean, this is the lead form by default. This is a form. All of these squares are going to be sections, and all of these are going to be tabs. This is the default or the standard form that the CRM is going to present you. And as you can see here, there is no way to relate a product, because by default, the CRM is telling you that in the lead side, there is no relation with the products. As soon as you create or as soon as you identify a relation with the product, you need to qualify the lead. And when you qualify the lead, the system is going to create an opportunity. And in the opportunity, you could relate a product because you already identified that is something that is a commercial process that you're going to start related with a specific product. But in the lead side, is something that you must be related to, but it's not related directly with a product. So all the operations or all the activities that you do with a lead, for example, if you try to contact a lead, you could create a phone call here. You could register the result of the phone call. For example, I mean, like invitation or like welcoming or like first call or something, whatever. And you could say that you are calling him, that you are calling this person. It's going to be outgoing because you are calling him. You could define here the phone number and the description of the phone call. And after that, I mean, when you do that, like, let's say first call, when you create this, You are going to have here in the CRM in your timeline all the activities that you are doing with the person, that you do with the lead. You contact him, you email him, whatever you do, you could have all information here. You could start rating the lead. You could start filtering all information. And after that, when you identify what's the product that is related to, you could qualify him. But if you identify that it's not going to be a person that could be interested in your system or could be interested in your product or in your services, you could disqualify the lead. When you disqualify the lead, the CRM is going to allow you to define why you want to disqualify him, because you lost him, because he already buy something else, because you cannot contact him, because he's no longer interested in it, or because you just want to cancel because you created by mistake. Okay, so the idea of a CRM is not just record the information, because you could record information in an Excel spreadsheet or something like that. The idea with a CRM is have all interaction that you are going to have with your customer from the beginning, from a lead stage. You could have the interaction, all the information, all the phone calls, all the activities, or wherever. And after that, when you qualify the lead, you are going to create a contact. Okay, so a lead is going to be a contact or an account. I mean, let me explain you that. What is a lead? A lead is going to be a person or a company. When you qualify the lead, the CRM is going to change the status of the lead to qualify. It's going to create a contact if you fill it up, the person fills, and it's going to create an account, if you fill it out, the company information. So what it means that for the CRM, all the people is a contact and all the companies are an account. So probably after that, you could create opportunities related to contacts or related to accounts, but are going to be opportunities at the end of the day. So when you create an opportunity, for example, like this, you could have here your business process flow that basically identify in what stage of the process you are. You could have all information here related to your opportunity. And as you can see here, you have a product tabs, because in opportunity is the way to relate the products to to a person or to a company. So what you're telling here is that probably that person could be interested to a specific product. Let's say in this case that is going to be interested to a specific product. So I need to define the price list that is going to be this one, for example. And after that, let me select one. I don't know what products I have created here. For example, this one, doesn't matter. And let's say that is going to be 3, wherever. And I'm going to save it. So what I'm doing here is that I'm creating an opportunity because I identified that this customer or this person, actually this Maria Campbell, could be interested in this product on these quantities. And I could start doing activities related to this opportunity, what it means. If I have a customer and I'm going to start calling him, or I'm going to be sending emails him to related to a specific opportunity, I could go directly to the contact and create the activities there, but it's not the properly way. Why not? Because I have opportunities and I have to relate the activities to the specific opportunities. So let's try to think in a scenario where you have a company that probably you could have 2, 3, 5, or 10 opportunities at the same time. And all the phone calls and all the emails should be in the specific opportunity. Of course, you could see, if you enter to an account, you could see all the activities related to the account. But if you create the specific activities related to the specific opportunities, is the better way to do it, because everything is going to be organized. Okay. After that, you could define the probability of the business. You could define here. This is a control that is not by default. I customized it, but it's something that you could include because I think that's pretty cool, and just try to make it visual. Okay. And after that, you could relate information here. You could create an appointment, you could create an email, you could create a task. Actually, you could send an SMS. It's not by default, but I include this too. but it's something that we usually customize because I mean, if you have all the channels, why not have SMS? And additionally, you could customize the WhatsApp integration to us as if you need. And if you identify, and if you have all opportunity here, and if you identify or the customer requires you a quote, you could go directly to quotes and create a quote. And the CRM is going to take all the information that you already have in the opportunity, and is going to create a quote with the information that you already have in the opportunity. Okay, so the process is, I have a lead, I qualify the lead, the system is going to create an opportunity, I could start including all the information in the opportunity, and after that, I create a quote. When the customer decide that the quote is according to his needs, you just need to click in close as one, and that process is going to conclude. Basically, this is our really quick approach that could be a sales process. And just to let you see what are the potential that probably you could have in the CRM. In the same way, you could have here the customer service model that I'm just include all the models here just to make it easier. But for example, in the customer service side, you're going to have the knowledge page. That is a really cool functionality because you could create a lot of articles, and you could enable the person to create a case, the agent to create a case. And after that, on the case, try to search information directly in the knowledge page. You could include this section here, and the person could put information here, and the system is going to show you immediately all the information that could be related to that specific article. So that's really cool, because if you receive a case and if you identify that you already have an article that could resolve that case, you could just search in the knowledge page, identify the case, identify the article. You could see the article here. If you just click here, you could see the article. Like for example, this one is not very nice, but it's the article, and you could relate the article to the case, and you could send the article directly to the customer. So it's a really easy way to reduce the time that you are investing in solving cases. And in the same way, if you have here the information related to, if you do activities like, for example, if you call the customer, or if you email the customer, something like that related to this case, you should do it in this way. You should enter to the case and just start including all the information related to the case directly in the case. Okay. We additionally customize this because we consider that for example, it's a question, or if it's a problem, or if it's a request or whatever, I customize this because, as I mentioned, I think that the visualization is something important in a CRM. As you can see, probably, as you can see here in opportunities, I think that I customize here. I customize this view to present what's the rating of the opportunity. So that these are some elements that we could customize just to make the environment a little bit more visual and more clear. Okay. And basically, as you can see, all is around a contact or an account. So for example, if you enter to an account, let me enter to an account or a contact, wherever start here. So for example, you enter here. If you enter to an contact, you could relate here, and you could create activities, you could create opportunities, you could create cases, you could create a marketing list, you could create whatever could be related to a contact. So it means that if, for example, if you receive a phone call from this person, you could create a case directly, or you could create an opportunity. For example, I could click here and click in new opportunity, and the system is going to create an opportunity directly related to this contact. In the same way, if you receive a phone call, for example, let me create a phone call here. If you receive a phone call, let's say that is going to be incoming, you could define here who is the person that is calling you. Let's say that is going to be this person. Requiring information, something like that, or not, just creating a request. So if you create this phone call, for example, you could define here what's happening in the phone call. Yep. And after that, you could just mark as complete. Okay. But additionally, if you identify that could be a case or could be an opportunity, you could convert the phone call. So you could be hearing a phone call and convert to an opportunity and convert to a case. So what it means, all interaction that I'm having with that customer could be a phone call, could be an email. After that, I could be identifying that it could be an opportunity or it could be a case. So I could go directly and convert it to a case or convert it to an opportunity. That's something that is really useful. Okay, so that's another way to do it. Some other functionalities. I mean, I'm going to try to explain or to show you as much as we can in this time, because there are a lot of things that I could show you in the CRM side. So some elements like cases, like by default, you're going to have a lot of cases probably. And there are some elements that you should know at least. You could, for example, route the case that basically identify or validate some specific functionalities here or some specific characteristics and are going to redirect the case to specific users. This functionality is, I don't want to say limited, but is kind of like a standard, like basic. So that's why we customize some other models to do more advanced redirection. I'm going to show you that later. But after that, at the end of the day, you could have functionalities like resolve case, like assign case. If you want to assign the case to someone else, you just need to click here and you could assign the case to yourself if you want to take the case, or if you want to assign to a specific user or a specific team, you could do it directly from a case. You could add the case to a queue. So what it means, when you send a case to a queue, it's going to be like in a box, and all the people that is related to that box could take the case and start attending the case. There are some business models that prefer just the queues. There are some others that don't like so much. So it depends on the customer, but it's something that you could do as well. Additionally, you could create child cases if you want to relate additional cases to a parent one. You could configure entitlements, for example, number of hours, number of cases. You could define the structure that you want to define for attending your cases. And you could define here in this case, for example, it's not going to decrement the entitlement, and it's not going to use the entitlement because you're going to provide the solution without use the box, something like that. You could integrate that with Teams if you want to have interaction with some other agents through the CRM and using the Teams. Of course, that you could have it. Additionally, you could have word templates. That is a really cool functionality. Let me show you probably in an account. It's going to be available by default. If you enter to the word template, you could have, like, for example, an account summary. So what the system is going to do is going to do like it's going to generate a document that is going to include some information related or from the record that you have. For example, like this is an account summary. This is something that is by default. I didn't customize that, but you could define your own Word documents with your images, with your, I mean, wherever you need. And after that, include the document here to the CRM, and the CRM is going to populate the information that you already include in the CRM, and it's going to allow you to generate your own documents. Generate a document is really easy. And in the same way, you could have, for example, not just Word templates, you could have Excel templates. So what it means, like, for example, if you are in not account, because it's not going to be to operate it, but for example, in cases, you could have some Excel templates, for example, like, for example, cases summary, something like that. Let me see what is going to generate. And as you can see here, the CRM is going to generate an Excel template with all your information, with all the cases information and the charts, or the analysis that you want to include in the Excel file that you could do by yourself is something that you could upload in the CRM. And after that, that template could be configured, in any view. For example, if you want to generate your specific template for all the cases, you could do it. But if you want to generate it with my active cases or cases that I have followed or whatever you want, you could define here the group of information that you want to take to generate the document. And after that, just generate the Excel template related with this specific information. So that's really powerful because it allows you to create your own templates, your own information. And if that is not enough, you could create your own reports. Okay. So you could just generate you could click here on reports and just click here on new and generate your own reports. So what I'm just highlighting here is that the CRM Dynamics allows you to configure a lot of functionalities that after that, the idea with a system is not just be attached to the consultant company forever. That's not the idea of a system. The idea of a system is allow you or provide you the tools to administrate your system by yourself. Of course, there are some customization that you need to require some consultant assistance, but the idea is that most of the things that you should be able to do in your system should be something that you should do by yourself. Okay. There is this is another model that I have here, the settings model that includes all the function. Most of the functionality that we customize for the demo. Like for example, by default, you cannot define the type of appointment. So I create an appointment type just to define what is the type of appointment that you want to do. Like for example, cities, countries, or something like that. The CRM by default lets you to write the name of the country, the name of the city. But sometimes when you try to do analysis or if you want to include that information in a report, it's not the best way to do it. So that's why we configure some catalogs, some information that you could predefine the system, like for example, task types. And after that, when you create a task, for example, if you create a task, you will see here that we include a field to define the task type. This is not by default, but it's something that we could customize. And I want to show you because I want to let you know that the system, the CRM is a platform that you really can customize as much as you need and as much as you want. We create some case category, case subcategories, and we create something called case typification that define the way that the CRM define the behavior that a case will have. For example, if I create a case with a specific category and subcategory, the system could take decisions like who's going to be responsible of the case, what's the time that I'm going to provide for the case, what's the priority that I'm going to have, what are the notifications that I'm going to be sending. Okay, so a group of functionalities that we define, that's something custom, but it's something that you could do in your CRM, of course. There are some other models, like for example, goal management. That's a really good model. I don't know why, but sometimes there are some customers that don't use it at all, or that doesn't know that it exists. But it's a model that allows you to create, for example, goals. Let me, for example, create a goal. The first thing that you need to create is a goal metric. What is a goal metric? What do you want to measure? For example, number of cases, or number of won opportunities, or number of completed tasks. You could create a metric to count, or you could create a metric of revenue. Like the sales amount, something like that. You could summarize money, or you could count records. So you need to define a metric, and after that you could create goals. Like for example, this one. I have a goal here, resolve case. I'm going to relate the goal to a specific metric, and I'm going to define the owner of the goal. I could define the period of time that I'm going to evaluate. This is a custom period, but you could relate that to the fiscal period too. And after that, I could define the target. So why is important or why is powerful this? Because you could define the goals, and after that, the CRM is going to be controlling the goals automatically. It's going to be calculating the goals automatically. And additionally, you could define child goals. Like for example, you could define quarterly goals that are going to be completing the year goal or something like that. So it's really useful, but I don't know why the companies don't use it too much. It's not quite easy to configure, but at the end it's going to be really powerful. So I really encourage you to use it. Something additionally that the CRM has by default, I'm going to try to show you more default functionality, is that you could have the advanced search. This is a really powerful tool. And actually, when I do implementation, I try to don't define the reports and don't define the dashboards at the beginning. I prefer to allow the user understand and knows how the advanced search works. And after that, they are going to understand a little bit more the system and probably are going to see that with this functionality, the reports are not too necessary, or probably you could customize your own report or your own search. I don't know why it's not opening the functionality. Sometimes takes time. So let me just try to open another instance and try to show you, because I don't want to interrupt the explanation. So probably I could try with another instance and try to see if it's going to be working quicker. What a better instance. It could be this one, it doesn't matter. So when you open the advanced search, I hope that this one open quicker. Yeah. So you could click here and you will see here all the entities that you have in your CRM, all entities. So if, for example, you want to search something related with cases, for example, you could just write cases. You could start from a specific view, for example, all cases, okay? But additionally, if you want to include a specific filter, you could do it. So for example, let me see where the owner is me. And let's say some other thing like created on, for example, created on yesterday, something like that. So I could define whatever I need here in terms of the filters. So this is really powerful because you could, when you create a report, the thing is that you need to define the filters and you need to define the columns, and basically that's it. At least if you go to Power BI, it's something different. But if you create a report in one of the standard platforms, usually you need to define the filters and the columns. With this functionality, you could define or you could create your own filters, wherever you need. And additionally, you could just see the information. Probably I don't have one. So let me delete this. I should have cases. So what I'm going to do here is that I'm going to define here the filter. And if you see here, there are some columns that you already have here. But if you need to add more, because there are some columns that are not included, you could edit the columns and you could include additional columns that you need in your report. You just need to click in add columns and you could define, okay, let's add the I don't know, whatever, the description, okay? And you could define where do you want the column and some other things. And after that, you just need to resolve and you could export the information to Excel or wherever you need, okay? If additionally, if you identify that is something that you are going to be using all days or something like that, you could save the query. You could save the combination of filters that you have here. And after that, you could save the query, okay? That's something real cool too. For example, let me show you some other thing that is really cool too. So probably you could select here and you could define, for example, this option, or so you could define logical operators here, like means that this condition should be included, but some of these conditions should be included. That's something really powerful because you could do a lot of combinations. Additionally, you could include conditions that are not directly in the case. For example, you could define, for example, if you came here to the related, You could define, okay, let's say that the case is related to a specific person, like for example, customer contact, and the contact has a specific condition. So you could define here, okay, where the contact you that, and you could define whatever filter you want. That's why I consider that it's really important to start understanding this functionality before define the reports and before they define the other elements to query the information. Because sometimes you just spend your hours doing a report that you're not going to use, because at the end of the day, the people is going to be using this one. Okay, so that's another functionality that is really cool. By default, the CRM includes this search, that's the global search. This is a sandbox instance, that's why the functionality is not appearing. But this one that is a production one is something that you could define. So if, for example, you just include something here, the system is going to search this number and it's going to show you that that number exists in products, that there is a case that includes that information, that there are some opportunities that include that there are some tabs that include that. So it's going to show you wherever you have the 30 is going to appear immediately. So that's really cool too. Okay. Additionally, like for example, let me show you something. There are some other, when you click here, you are going to see the apps model. Oh, it's not the model, it's the menu, the apps menu. By default, the CRM install some apps. I usually don't install all of this, but this is the demo instance, so I have everything installed here. So if you want to, for example, this is the customer service hub model by default. If you enter here, for example, you will see that the menu is different. Service management is just customer service. But I mean, I prefer just have one app and have all the models there. I mean, I think that is easier, but it's up to you. I mean, it's up of the company. Additionally, there is a field service model that probably I'm going to be presenting you in another session. There is functionality that is called omnichannel that is pretty cool because allows you to connect your CRM with a chat, with an SMS system, with Facebook, with Line, with Twitter, with WeChat, with WhatsApp, with Teams. So this is a really cool model that cool allows you to interact with some other platforms and have all information in your system. So for example, if you connect your system with WhatsApp, all the WhatsApp chats that you have with a customer are going to be related to their contact, are going to be related to a case, or are going to be related to the phase of the process that you are having with your customer. And in the same way, if you have a chat like could be really easily configured, probably I could show you something like an example. Let's say that this is the Optimus website. It's not the real one, but let's say you could include here a let's chat button that you could click and you could start a chat, like for example, this one, and that chat could be received automatically in an omni-channel, should be in a customer, in an agent side. But if you start, let me see if I have configured this, probably yes. If I start the process here, it's just loading. But after loading, this is going to present you the conversation here. And in the same way, if someone is chatting you through WhatsApp, you're going to receive the conversation directly in the system. Usually at the beginning of the day, you are going to enter to the system and you're not going to wait any time. But as I'm changing, I'm changing of the apps, I mean, you are going to receive the conversation here. And when you click in accept, you're going to identify that you have a visitor and you're going to receive the messages that the person already chat you, probably 3 messages because I was kind of impatient. So, but the cool way thing here is that you could relate that conversation to a specific contact. And that information is going to be like an activity, like a phone call, like an email. You're going to have the record of the information or the interaction that you have with your customer. That's another really cool functionality that you could have in your CRM. The field service is just to schedule your technicians, your agents to visit your customer, to do maintenance, to do some other things. There is a project model as well. There is a program operation model. There is a resources scheduling model. If you want to schedule your resources, like for example, schedule the people for specific activities, you could have that kind of scheduling with this model. This is a model that is included by default. I mean, it's not additional licensing involved, and it's something that is really cool here. Well, there is a lot of topics that probably we could keep talking, but as I mentioned at the beginning, this is a general basic training of the year of the CRM. The idea of this training is lets you know that there is a model or there is a functionality that allows you to have all the interaction with your customer, that provides you the ability or the possibility to customize or to increase your system in a scalable way. It's not something that probably you are going to start and in 1 or 3 months you are going to be identifying that you need additional things that you cannot do. That's not the case. I mean, the CRM is something that you could escalate and you could do a lot of different things. I didn't mention the Power Automate functionality that allows you to escalate even more the functionality because you could interact with a bunch of some other systems. So that's a general way. What else I should highlight? This is an online system that you could use in your mobile phone as well. That's something really cool because it works basically as exactly the same way that the CRM works in your system. Probably I could try to show you a little bit about that. If you enter to your system, let me see if I could show you that. Yep. So if you enter here to your app, for example, let me see, that's going to be Dynamics 365. You are going to have your system here with all the functionalities. You could see all your options here. You could enter, for example, the accounts. You could see all the information of your accounts here. Probably I don't have too much information here, but you could see all the forms that you see in your usual operation. You could see here all the forms and do all the processes that you usually do in your system. You could do it directly here from your mobile. So that's really cool too. Additionally, you could configure the CRM to allow you to work offline, what means that it's going to be allowing you to work or doing opportunities, doing cases, doing whatever in your mobile phone without connection. And as soon as the CRM identifies that you already have connection, it's going to send the information automatically. That's something that you could enable to, and that it's really useful as well. Okay. Well, basically, that's the information that I want to share with you today. If you want to create your own exercises or you do your own exercises and you don't have your own CRM instance at the moment, this is one trial instance that you could enter here. You could use this user and this password, and it's going to allow you to use the system, interact with the system, create your own views, create your own reports. I mean, the idea is that you have the possibility to interact with the system. And of course, if you have additional questions or you require additional information, you could send me an email and I will be sending you information or sending you the answer that you require. Okay, I really appreciate your time today. I really hope you that you came into the other webinars. What we are doing at the moment, I mean, for this year, because the previous one wasn't like that, but since this year, we are going to be doing the webinar 1 week in English and the same topic in Spanish next week. Okay, so the idea is that all the topics are going to be always in English and next week in Spanish, and after that we are going to change the topic. Okay. So that's it. That's all for today. I really appreciate your time. And if you have any question, just let me know. Just send me an email and I will be answering you as soon as possible. Okay. Thanks a lot for your time.